Welcome to another edition of KFitt TV. Today on KFitt TV we're going to have Paddy Kelly, a local man from Doonbeg, Magpie, who did a charity cycle for cancer in memory of his good friend Paddy Culligan. How are you doing, Paddy? How are things?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we'll just dive straight into Paddy. Before we talk about the actual event, we might talk a small bit about you. How did you get into cycling, or how did you find yourself here?
Well, I used to do a bit of running. I ran a few marathons back in the day, and I used to do a bit of walking and that. But before I left here, I come back in 2013. I got a bike, and back to work scheme before I left, and I done a bit of cycling for a couple of years, and then it was parked for a few years. And I had about a trip that was going to America with Cooperation Ireland, come back in 2018. And that's the time I came in, and they were doing it in hybrid bikes, and I bought the hybrid bike after that time. And I suppose I'd done it about a year, and then when my friend Paddy passed on in 2019, I was in a reasonably fit state at the time. And one evening while cycling back towards Kilkee, this brainwave came to me. I pulled in from a big shower that I should do a cycle around Ireland. People had done Malin to Milton, and they had done around Chlair and this and that. But nobody that I knew of had cycled around Ireland for charity.
Okay, so the cycle was cycle around Ireland in memory of your friend Paddy, and to raise money for cancer.
For cancer, yeah.
All right. Do you want to tell us about a couple of charities to raise money for?
Yeah, the first one is in Chlair, Sláinte and Chlair. The second one is Galway Hospice, where Paddy finished up his time before he passed on from us. And the third one is prostate research.
Alright,
because it's prostate cancer that Paddy died from.
Okay, and the actual fundraising, Paddy, was it all done by yourself, or was it kind of a collective effort?
Well, we had a GoFundMe page up on Facebook, and that made 30k. Also, there was a jersey. The jersey started off, I went to my boss, Joe Russell, the manager of Doonbeg where I work. Mm-hmm. And Joe put me in touch with a guy in Tipperary who gave me the rundown on how I should get funding and how a jersey was sponsored. I didn't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. And he gave me the file about what you could put in front, and the arms and the back and the pockets and all that.
Very good.
And that probably made about $8,000 before we started.
Okay. So what was the total amount, Paddy?
Total amount was 74k.
Because that's remarkable. Fair play to you.
Along the three main charities, three local charities also got money out of it, and actually 4 money came in after it all divided, another 700 or 800k, and that went to another charity.
Very good. So we get down to the event. Training, Paddy. How did you fare with the training, or how did you kind of like plan the training? Because like obviously you've never done an event like this before, so it's hard to plan for.
Well, I know that I suppose I had the bones of 8 or 9 months out from say August until March or April. I was supposed to go initially the 4th of April last year in 2020, but the lockdown came in, so it didn't happen until July. But I suppose there was times I had 4 to 5 days training on the trot. The thing was that it was day after day. People were saying you should take a break. It wasn't the case of taking a break. Like, where do you go for a break when you're around the country? So
yeah, well, it's funny you said it though, because I'd be the first to admit now, when you come in and said it to me, I had no doubt that you were going to be able to do it, but I didn't think that you'd do it 19 days without any rest there, which is fair going. So yeah, I'm the first one to say I didn't think you'd do it 19 days straight.
Yeah, a lot of people said I should have had a break, but I knew what I'd go on the break day, and I mightn't be fit for the bike the day afterwards. So what you do when you're stopped off someplace, just to like some brain on a Sunday evening, and
well, I suppose you couldn't have a break from the drinking. It wouldn't make sense.
I don't know. Well, you know, most nights I suppose we had a couple of pints, and maybe a few nights there was a little bit more than a couple, but that's grand. It was gone within an hour again in the morning once you were back on the bike. But
were the points anything got to do with the day that you got lost there down around Wexford?
Well, no,
it
was my we were going from Dungarvan to Kinsale, and my pilot and co-pilot might have been a little bit late the night before, and the man that should have been reading the map was on his phone, and the other man was listening to Miss Mary Google, and she was bringing us all over the shop. We passed Ballymeadow House 3 different times, and we got wet. It was probably one of the toughest days in it. It was a beautiful morning in Donegal when we started, and the next thing the rain came down as we went out the road and wind. There was a big pull that I'd forgotten about. Like I had driven this course all around Ireland prior to that. I suppose it took 5 days to see it all. And I had forgotten about the pull that's out of Donegal, and then the rain came down on top of it, and then we went wrong, and we went wrong twice that day. The second,
so the logistics were out, so were they?
Slightly that day things didn't go well, and then my backup van, my aircon van all the way through from start to finish. Fair play to all the lads, they donated of their time, like, and they backed me up with the van and had no problem with.
So just about that, about the actual, aside from the van, like obviously, like I know like it was a kind of a one-man show, but at the same time you had people helping you, you had people organising B&Bs, doing the plan, the route and all that. Like overall, like would you say, I know it's a one-man operation, but how many like were really involved in the overall?
Well, my wife didn't play a big part, and also Michael the Hopty and his wife Tina. Michael, I suppose, was my director of operations. I called him at one stage, and it wouldn't have happened before him, and he set up the Facebook page and the GoFundMe page. And also Mary Kevin, she done a lot on the social media side of things, and she was also a nutritionist. She gave me great advice and said the food for about 6 months into it. I was on a certain kind of a diet and something. Like when you are training 4 or 5 days a week, and there was an 800 in that, like maybe 80s and whatever, you need to have the body.
So 19 days in total, and so your best day and your worst day. So
on the best day, I suppose the most enjoyable day was from Dundalk to Bray. We were after a couple of tough days. Like when we went into the north, and a couple of days it wasn't very nice on the road up there. And we had a long day the first day. We were across from Greencastle into, it was a jail there, it didn't come into me now. It's in Derry. But that day we started off at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't finish until 7:15 that evening. It was about 160 to 70 km with punctures, and we met a guy that cycled a bit of it and got us in for tea and dinner, but we were supposed to go to Port Stewart, but we finished up going to Port West and Port Stewart, all along the coast and the Carrickfergus. And the next day after that, then they sent an Irish band out to greet us, and we coming into Newcastle. They knew Paddy was in town. This is the fact, this happened. We couldn't believe it. We were just having our break, and the band comes down the side street and up the main street. And just the timing, like. But the next day then was a beautiful day, and we had one of the Dublin hurlers, Danny Sutcliffe, the senior hurlers, and the nephew of Paddy Culligan's, and Paddy's brother and his wife, and we had a big crowd, and Michael had out in Tina. They'd been with us through Northern Ireland as well, and doing the food for us and the stops and all that. But also we had a few lads that came up. Michael Culligan did be a relation of Paddy's. He arrived out, he cycled out from Dublin out to Julianstown to meet us, or past Julianstown, and also Pat Burke, former Chlair footballer. This was a big lift to see these people coming out, and when we arrived into Bray that evening, we arrived into Dublin and into Bray, there was a good few local people from Doonbeg and West Chlair there to meet me as well.
So there was more than one highlight. There was a few memorable occasions.
That was a great day, and it was a lovely evening, and then we went downtown Bray to
more points.
Well, we had a couple of days to celebrate that evening.
Very good.
Then probably the worst day was back to Mizzen. All day after going wrong between, we went from Dungarvan to Kinsale, then it was Kinsale to Mizzen. And that was a tough day. It was wind against us from the start, and undercarriage problems had been ongoing for a couple of days, and I got the patch wrong on the morning, put me wrong, but it was very important that you hit the spot. And very hard when you're doing a ballerina and you're trying to have your leg above so high and trying to find the
skillful points.
Well, no, the points we didn't come into play. This is the morning before we left, and I found that the toughest. There was 4 of us that day, and 2 was at the cyclone, and leave the other 2 at the coming from.
Yeah, it's not easy cycle when you have problems with the undercarriage. It just takes from your concentration, and you're trying to move around in the seat and watch yourself not.
Well, we stayed together on a little skull, skull, and I had to go, and I had a very good fellow with me, the triathlon, he's a young man, And like he broke the wind for me for most of the day, but for him, that day probably
would have been the worst.
You know.
How would you rate the overall experience, the whole event?
It was a serious experience in life because I've done a good few things before, but I suppose there was a lot of people involved with me, and everyone just came involved, and a lot of cyclists as well that came in different areas. I only spent 2 days on my own.
And what, like when you talk about experience, what other things have you done outside of cycling?
Oh, well, I was in base camp in Everest a few years ago in 2012 with KFitt. There was 20 of us. We went for charity, and I done the Camino. I think it was in 2017, and a few marathons here and there.
And compared to the rest of those, how would you rate it?
This would be up there. I'd say it'd be probably ahead of them, you know, because it was seeing your own country as well, and met a lot of lovely people, decent people, and a lot of people came out to help me on the way. And like Paddy Culligan, the man I done it for, Paddy had lived up in Mayo, that's where he finished up before he passed on, and the people of Louisburg came out and the warm welcome, and the town closed off and we was arriving on that day, like this is too serious. Then we arrived back in Doonbeg, serious welcome I got there as well, piped into the village.
There was a lady met you there that day, what was her name?
Yeah, Vicky Phelan came especially to meet me as well, and had been on to me on my journey as well, and before I left, and met me in Doonbeg, and also came up to the golf club to
Alright, so she's a remarkable woman. I was listening to her on the radio, she's gone through a lot, and she's trucking on, she's great strength.
She has, and she's gone through a lot, and she's gone to America. She's in America as we speak, going through treatment, which is rough enough. It's a new treatment, and there's no guarantees, and she has to keep going. Yeah,
I was listening to her today, and she's saying that she's already looking at other treatments, because she said like if this treatment doesn't work out for her, she what else is there? She has to go with another one, like, you know. So.
But she's a very positive person, I suppose. That's the reason she's still around. Like, you have to be, when you get something like that, you have to fight it. You've got to keep going. And hopefully the money that we collected and give to the different charities, it will help some people along the way, you know. So. But
just when you're talking about a tough day there, you were saying that you were getting punctures and all that. I'm just curious to know, the bike you use is something similar to the one that we have here. This is the 21 Defy Pro Ultegra. Very similar bike to what Paddy used, and it's tubeless. So
yeah, well, I didn't get a puncture going around Ireland.
Okay.
Not one thing happened to the bike.
Okay, so that's a tubeless bike for all those people that use tubes, and they're giving out about tubeless and hookless rims and all that. That's all the way around Ireland, 2,400 k without a puncture. I think that's very good testament to the bike. That's for anyone that's thinking about an event, sporty, doing a leisure cycle, longer endurance events like the Paddy has done. The Giant Defy Pro is definitely the bike to go. There's great compliance in the frame. It has a lot of like you can fool around, mess around with it a lot. It has, like you can use anything from a 25 tire right up to a 32 tire. It's kind of like a really like all-terrain, all-race sporty bike. It's a really good bike. Alright, so on from that, you just tell us a bit about your friend Paddy.
Well, Paddy was a very nice guy. I met Paddy back in 1981 after starting in P&T down in Limerick. Paddy was from Chlair, but his mum was from Doonbeg. He had always a big off for Doonbeg and spent a good bit of time back in Chlair in his younger days. But his uncles used to work there with him, come up for the summer and that. And Paddy was big in team sport as well. He played a bit of football with Chlair and played soccer in the firm down in Limerick. And he actually got cancer at a young age at 16, and they cured, and he drove on, and he came back again in his 20s, and he came back again in his 30s, and then he came back to finish him in his 50s, late 50s, 57, I think he was 58.
That's amazing.
So.
Yeah, look, just as far as events are going or anything like that, what's next for you, Paddy?
Well, look, we're still tipping away at the minute. We're hoping to maybe do the Ring of Kerry. I don't think the major event is going to be on because of COVID or whatever, but if restrictions lift, there's a girl not too far away from here, she's celebrating her birthday, and she wants to do the Ring of Kerry, she hasn't done it, and she's cycling a couple of years. I believe she's after buying a new bike here.
The same lady, yeah, she's after buying a Carmel. Hello Carmel, how are you keeping? Yeah, she's after buying a new bike, yeah, and hoping to get the most out of it, I think.
Yeah, well, we were hoping that maybe 12 or 14 was hoping to go down and do the ring in Kerry. Supposedly it's the 3rd of July, but the way things are going, that might change. But I've no doubt we'll do it before the summer is out, and maybe we might do it for some charity since we're doing it. We haven't decided yet, but we probably will collect a few bob for some charity.
Brilliant. Just before we go, Paddy, is there anyone you'd just like to thank for the effort that they put in?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone that got involved. I think what I was saying there earlier, I meant to say that I think anyone that came back to me afterwards that had been involved from any side would really enjoy being involved in doing, whether from the cyclists to the organisers to the people who give me accommodation, food, the people that sponsors the jersey, the people that sponsor me in dinners and the GoFundMe page, and local people when I came back, the amount of people that came to my house with money, and my own parishioners, family, my own family with money, lads, friends, neighbours. I'd like to thank everybody, and particularly I suppose Mike the Harty and Tina and Eric Cameron.
I'm not quite sure if I asked you, would you do it again?
I would, but the next time I let somebody organise it, I think the organiser took a lot more than the actual cycling. It's your head is clouded all the time. Like I had in my mind that I'd set out to it couldn't have gone better. I don't think even if somebody else was organising it, it could have got better. My aim was to be on the road every morning at 8, and I was cycling every morning at 8, maybe except the last day, might have been 8:45, and well, one day I went to 7:30.
Yeah, it's amazing, because if you think about it really, like a pro cyclist goes to a major tour, whether it be the Giro or Tour de France or something like that, it's 2 or 3 weeks to get a rest day. Now, I know you're not a professional, you're just the average Joe just trying to go out and raise some money, but if you put it in that context, they train full time and they go for anywhere between 2 and 3 weeks, right? You've done your own part-time training and you've gone pretty much 19 days, close to 3 weeks non-stop. So it is like when you make comparisons, and I know he's not a pro athlete, but when he makes comparisons, you can see the achievement that he made, or has, I suppose, the achievement in itself. So look, Paddy, with that, I'd like to thank you very much for coming in and having a chat with us. Hopefully, if you decide to do anything like that again, you might come back and let us know about your experience.
Well, so one never knows. I'm just going to say to you that there was days, I don't know, have you ever had that song, Search for the Hero Inside Yourself? There was a few days we were searching for that, but that's part of it. I would be lying to say that there wasn't this more, you asked me there earlier, at the good day and the bad day, but there was times like in anything like that, you'll have tough bits of days and whatever, and there were things go through your mind, and
absolutely, yeah.
As I say, you have to search for the hero inside yourself at times,
All right, with that, we're going to let you go. Paddy, thanks very much. Paddy Kelly raised 74,000 in memory of his friend for cancer. I think it's a serious achievement. Fair play to you. Our hats goes off from everyone here at the KFitt team. And look, if any of you want to find out anything about other people living in the area, or you want to hear about another topic, just drop a comment in the box below, link box below. We'll do our research and we'll get back to you. Thanks very much for listening.
Thanks,